That look, there are two Indias. There was the UPA's India and there is the NDA's India. Dr. Anand Ranganathan, the BJP will say, look, in the UPA's India, Kashmir was kept segregated from the rest of the country. We scrapped Article 370 and integrated Kashmir with the mainland. There were Pakistani Hindus that were never kept in the mainstream, never welcomed into the mainstream, but we changed that. That there were the corrupt who had access to the state's resources and they were the exploited who lost them. That there was a creamy layer and there was an ati pichra, there was an ooch and a neech, as summed up by one extremely abrasive remark by Mani Shankar Iyer, and that there were loans to the rich and there were people knocking on the doors for recovery of the poor. That's what they'll say. That's what they've said and that's what they say. Do you believe that that is an accurate enough categorization?
Good evening, Rahul, and good evening to all my fellow panelists. I've been waiting very patiently and hearing. I hope I won't be interrupted. No, I think that was a masterclass by the Prime Minister. And I think he answered all the questions that have been posed. It's almost like an open book exam because Rahul poses these questions and the Prime Minister has a couple of days to get back. And if he was, part of an interview and the interviewees would have said, salary kitni loge discuss kar le. So full marks to him. But there are two issues here and they're very important. Number one, Rahul, it is beyond doubt that India has progressed. Beyond doubt. If you look at, all the propaganda of, and of course, some of my esteemed fellow panelists would balk at saying this, that how dare I use this word propaganda. But the fact is, you look at all the foreign publications, you look at the opposition, even if you don't want to call it propaganda, you call it their allegations. And you look at the latest economic survey that has been prepared by Sanjeev Sanyal, you only have to look at a dozen graphic charts. You will, your eyes will open. Those who are not propagandists, their eyes will open. India has progressed on every field. In fact, my good friend Sanjay Jha I want to tell him, Rahul, through you, that he was the one who actually started this, saying that in 2017, we've had a 45-year high unemployment rate. Well, let me quote to you the International Labour Organization estimate for India. Unemployment rate in percentage, 2014, 5.60, 2015, 5.56, 16, 5.51, 17, 5.41, 18, 5.33, 2019, 5.27. So, so much propaganda has gone under the bridge. No one is doubting that India has progressed. The point I want to make right now, and this is important, is that India has not been allowed to leapfrog. Because yes, Modi may accuse of opposition to be divisive. Modi may accuse that opposition is destructive. But at the end, who has suffered? The Indians have suffered because, let me take one example. Why to talk about other examples? The farm laws. The farm laws would have made India leapfrog at least a generation ahead in terms of development, economic, agricultural, in terms of GDP, everything. Because remember, 44% of our active labor force is in the field of agriculture. 83% of Indian households are dependent on agriculture. What happened? The Congress said Modi will be forced to take back these black laws, which incidentally were in the Congress manifesto. And what was the result? If Modi had, ignored the opposition saying, you guys don't matter, India will progress. But at the end, they mattered, no? Modi had to take back the farm laws, which were important for India. So let us not forget, India is developing. But when it comes to leapfrogging, I'm afraid Modi is still stuck. He's still afraid and listening to the opposition.
Okay, let me just elaborate for our viewers. Let's just go through what the Prime Minister talked about, viewers. And he covered a vast number of issues. So let me just quickly take you through this and let's break it down theme by theme. On the pandemic, the first port of call, he said that his government provided free rations to 80 crore people. So you addressed the pandemic and whether there was a provision made to support people. And we also know that Manrega was oversubscribed by almost 50%, 70% in this period of time. Startup India. He talked about Startup India. He says that this period under the NDA 2014 plus has seen 44 unicorns, the emergence of them. He's talking about employment viewers here in just one narrow paradigm. He said, what did the opposition do? They mocked Startup India. But today, we have 44 unicorns. That means 44 companies that are more than $1 billion each. That's a big sum, viewers. He then spoke about Make in India, manufacturing. So when you say he didn't address these issues, I'm just taking you through these issues. Over 60,000 startups in India under NDA. He then talked about inflation, which you said he didn't address. He said it never rose above 7% between 2014 and 2020. So Sanjay, please, I'm just, look, we can... I'm not cherry picking. Now you asked me that he didn't. He said he didn't address these issues. I'm telling you what he said. I'm only picking. I'm only reading his speech, sir. You can come out and say that these are all, cooked up figures. You can say that. I'll bring you in for that. But let me at least put down what he said so our viewers know what he spoke about. Because the charge here by Sanjeev Srivastava, he didn't talk about anything substantive. He skipped all the issues. He talked about the economy. And he says that India has turned into one of the the fastest growing economy, large economy in the world. He says under the UPA, we were forced into the 5 most fragile economies in the world. This is what he said. Dr.
Yes,
Ranganathan.
no. Yeah. Yes, thank you, Rahul. No, with due respect, in a lighter vein to the BJP spokesperson, one needs to remember, one needs to get away from these silos, because if you remember the film Rangila, the guy, I think it was Gulshan Grover, who says, "Mera competition यहाँ के director से नहीं है, मेरा competition Steven Spielberg से है." तो मोदी जी का, we keep on quoting 70 साल से ये नहीं हुआ, 70, अरे भाई वो मालूम है, 70 साल से वाकई नहीं हुआ, तभी तो मोदी जी आए, संजू जी, तभी मोदी जी आए, और तभी मोदी जी 2019 में भी आए, क्योंकि लोगों को पता था 70 साल से नहीं हुआ. So, I think even you, with due respect, and everyone else is tired of comparing what we did not do in SAF. Everyone knows that. And that is what I meant by leapfrog, because of course we have made astonishing progress. And Rahul, yes, no, and Rahul, just on that poverty thing, no one has eradicated quote unquote extreme poverty than Modi has, even if you compare it to Manmohan Singh. And I have the figures I can quote. What you are saying, 23 crores is actually, during COVID. So that has to be taken with a pinch of salt. But, and unemployment I've already addressed. Infant mortality rate I have addressed. Maternal mortality rate I have addressed. Sanju has addressed about, things are progressing astonishingly well. What I want to ask is, जब भी कांग्रेस बीच में बत्ती देती है, to use a very quaint Hindi expression, तो बीजेपी और मोदी लड़खड़ा जाते हैं. सीएए में लड़खड़ा गए, नारकी में, फार्म लॉज में लड़खड़ा गए. ये लड़खड़ाना ही हमको बहुत संजू, this is unfair.
Sometimes you need to take 4 steps backward. That is not called ladkhadana. I'm sorry. That is not called ladkhadana. You need to
actually, Sanju Verma, to be very honest with you, Sanju ji, to be very honest, taking 4 steps backwards suggests staggering. 2 steps backwards might suggest a tactical retreat, but that's okay. I get what you're saying. Okay. Okay. One second. Dr. Ranganathan, very quickly, I need to move on. Right. Go ahead.
Very quickly, Rahul, we do have a dilemma, as you know, that in our country, it is given that a man is innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
So, you may have 200 cases against you. That doesn't mean that you are guilty. So I think the political parties are right in a way that unless a politician is convicted, he has a fair chance of...
well, we are talking about charge-sheeted politicians that have been charge-sheeted in very heinous crimes. We're not talking about pre-charge-sheeted. We're not talking about accusation and FIRs. We're talking about charge-sheets, and that was the caveat that was injected by the Supreme Court to make an allowance for all of this. So that's what I'm trying to say. And no one supports that. No one supports that, and except for 2 political parties. And let's be honest about that.